Hey, it's been another slow 2 weeks of nothing coming out into the movie theaters around here in the two that we go to. So we've been forced to go see some movies that we saw already and scream for an eighth time, which is not bad. So we're going to do something a little different. We're going to do something that we don't do that often. We're going to talk about some news. Welcome to another episode of the Popcorn Confessional. This is Dave from Nerdbox, and I'm accompanied by my wife, Jen, also from Nerdbox. And on this episode, we are talking slashers, Scream 6 casting, X, possible trilogy. So fire up that Jiffy Pop and meet us in the booth. Before we jump into the Scream 6 news that's been dropping over the course of the week, a lot of little interesting tidbits out there about possible casting, let's talk about a movie that maybe everybody doesn't know about. And that's the movie X. And it's X for a reason, because it's an erotic horror movie. Not so erotic where it's really rated X, but you get it. Now, unless you're going to the movie theaters now, or you're following a channel or our channel, or any channels out there that talk about movies, you might not have heard about this movie.
Is that where you heard about it? From another channel?
No, I heard about it in the movie theaters because I saw the trailer.
Oh, I was in the bathroom.
Yes, you were.
Okay.
Now, this stars Jenna Ortega in her third horror movie this year. Little budding Scream queen there. I'm excited to see it just because she's in it, based off of the movies we've seen her in.
She is pretty badass. And for any you fans out there, you'll recognize her from that. And she's pretty damn badass in that, too.
Yep.
You didn't get to see her in that because you didn't give it a chance.
Anyway, X is about a group of kids that want to go film a porn movie, and they go out to a farm, and shit goes wrong. Now, this movie was directed by Ty West. He finished up filming this in New Zealand last year. And while he was down there, he was like, hey, might as well do another one. So he filmed the prequel of this movie. And that's featuring Mia
Goth. So West co-wrote Pearl with Mia Goth, who stars as both Maxine and Pearl, the elderly woman who becomes fixated on her in X. West told the LA Times, "I always felt like if you're going to make a slasher movie, you have to make a bunch of sequels, as he has a third movie in mind."
That is exciting and scary at the same time.
Seems a bit rushed.
It seems a bit rushed, but it's from A24.
That's true. Now, A24 has such films as Midsommar, Hereditary, Uncut Gems, and Lady Bird.
And a bunch of other ones.
Mm-hmm.
So they put out some really quality films. A
little weird. So I'm not sure what to expect going into this. I'm kind of like a little nervous because I really don't know what to expect. I mean, as we all know, Midsommar and Hereditary had some interesting endings to them. So, well, Midsommar had some interesting beginnings and middles too. So
hey, watch out for that poll. Have you heard about X? Let us know in the comments. Drop that down there, because I'm going to be interested in some of your reviews and feedback on this one to see what everybody thinks about it. Are we going to continue that good upwards trend in the horror movies?
Let's hope so.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's got potential. It seems gritty, and it seems like more of a late 70s crossing into early 80s horror movie. Filming for Scream 6 is set for June in Vancouver. And we have possibly our first cast member. Courtney Cox met with Mark Malkin of Variety for a podcast. And she kind of leaked out that she received a copy of the script on March 14th. Pretty cool. That doesn't necessarily mean that she is cast and set for this, because she's got to read the script, and that's something that she talked about in a podcast where it's like, oh, I'm not used to reading these long scripts anymore because she's on a TV show now, so she reads like 25 pagers. So she has to read the script, and I guess if she likes it, we're going to see Gale Weathers come back. Now, in more casting news and very, very interesting news, is this past Monday, Slant Magazine met up with Kristen Stewart to talk about her Oscar-nominated Best Picture film, Spencer. I don't see it. The conversation then kind of drifted to other films. The first being Batman, and if she would have any interest in playing a villain in the upcoming sequel. Now, her explanation was, sure. That's what I usually answer these questions when I get them. And I allow the author of the article, the interview, to go ahead and have fun with that answer. So she really expressed no interest in being in that movie.
Well, I can't imagine why.
Exactly. Such a stupid question to ask.
Batman is her ex-boyfriend that she publicly cheated on. Why would she want to... Why? I mean, I just think that was a really dumb question. I mean, we all know that reporters ask a lot of dumb questions. Or
well, they're trying to get people to slip up so they have something little fire to throw in that article. You know,
that wasn't the
just
one.
Useless.
That wasn't the one.
Mm-hmm. So then, Scream 6 came up.
Fully transparent, Kristen is the best. So they're already making Scream 6. Who did they contact you about playing in the last sequel? So, from Kristen, it's the Drew character that gets killed in the beginning. And they created a whole sequence where a lot of people get killed to emulate the Drew thing. But it was just going to be one person. And I was like, I can't do Drew. I can't touch that. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, so then they ended up doing, if I'm remembering correctly, a larger sequence and not just one victim.
Now, if you remember, the opening of Scream 4 was still a pretty elaborate kill scene because it featured the opening of Stab 6, where 2 girls were killed. And then we see the opening of Scream 7, where we have Kristen Bell killing Anna Paquin. And then finally we get to the opening of Scream 4, where it's Jenny Randall and Marnie Cooper getting killed. For real this time. I have to say that out of all of the Scream openings, my least favorite is 4. And everybody probably knows by now my disdain for Part 3. But Part 4 was my least favorite opening. If they had this elaborate kill scene planned, it doesn't seem like they kind of changed it that much. It kind of felt like maybe it was only going to be like a Happy Death Day kind of thing, like Drew dying in Stab, Drew dying in this film, and then it finally, I don't know.
I just wasn't a fan of the opening. I don't know. They could have come up with a better idea.
maybe Kristen Stewart in it, that was the best idea.
Probably. I mean, to see Kristen Bell stab Anna Paquin. So, I mean, these are 2 names that we all know very well. So, yeah. And it was kind of like a Drew Barrymore thing. Like, oh my God, they just killed Drew Barrymore in the first 5 minutes of the film. Mm-hmm. And then you see Kristen Bell kill Anna Paquin because she doesn't want to listen to her talk anymore.
Psych! Now, let's get on to when she was asked about Scream 6.
Maybe. I would read the script. I love Neve Campbell so much. She was very nice to me, and it was very satisfying that she's a very nice person. I love that movie. I've watched it recently, as an adult though. It's so gnarly. I love the movie because it loves movies. The coolest part of Scream is what it says about film. It's so self-aware. It folds in on itself like 6 times. I love how much Wes Craven loves movies and how embedded that is. It's a total film nerd type of movie. It's not just a slasher flick. It's a beautiful movie. It's so hard to watch. I'm like, I don't have the stomach for that shit anymore. I was like, oh man, this is very, very, very intense.
So what I find funny about this question is, we already established that when we asked about the Batman sequel, Kristen kind of explains the answers that she just throws out there. It's like, yeah, sure, maybe, whatever. And then the person asks about Scream 6. And how does that start with? Maybe. Yeah. So here I'm thinking it's more or less, and she ends it. She's not really into that shit anymore, right? Mm-hmm. She started with a maybe. So now it's just left up to everybody to go speculate and have their clickbait on there saying, "Oh my God, look, Kristen Stewart's talking about being in Scream 6."
I think it sounds to me more like she's a fan of the movies, but she doesn't want to be in them.
I honestly, and let us know what you think too, I really don't like seeing bigger name actors and actresses in horror films. Because that typically leads to you figuring out what the hell's going on. And I don't want kill bait in there. So we've done it before. Let's move on to something else.
Exactly. I think when it comes down to the Scream movies, their big shocker was Drew Barrymore. And I mean, we all know by now, at least you should know by now, that was Drew's idea. She went in, they wanted her to read for Sid. She read through the script and she said, no, like this will get them. Like everyone knows who I am. We're going to kill me off. And that's going to be like the wow in the movie. And she was right. I don't think you need to keep doing that. I mean, these other actors that have now become big in their own right were not big names when they played in this movie. I mean, you may have known them here and there from like other movies, a couple of horror movies or a comedy or whatever, but they were not big names.
That's what I'm afraid of. You know, if you have somebody at this caliber saying they're interested or not interested, and then the studio goes and chase them to possibly bring them in, then we start repeating the 2000 horror movies all over again, where all these heart throbs that were on the WB and all these other shows are showing up in movies. I don't need to see that again, right? I like what you said. Give me the smaller name actors and actresses in it. It just makes it more interesting and a little bit more relatable. Yeah,
I think so. I don't think that it needs to be, Drew Barrymore every time or someone of her caliber that's getting killed to really have that shock factor. I don't think you need to do that. It worked for the first Scream. That's it.
Leave it alone.
Just leave it alone.
Now, the last piece of casting news is at a recent HorrorCon, Mad Monster Party. During a Q&A, Nev was asked about Part 6 as well. She informed everybody that I'll be receiving the script soon, and if I'm interested, I'll do it.
And now, let's be clear that she's actually said that about all the rest of the scripts, too, going forward. I mean, she has always maintained that if the script was good, she would do it.
Yeah, and, to quote the one killer in Scream 5, it can't just be a money grab, right?
No.
And I think that's the cool thing about Neve Campbell. Look at the script, make sure that it has substance, and then go ahead and do it.
Yeah. And I would say that I believe that about her because she doesn't do a lot of movies.
No.
So I think that she's telling the truth. I think she's very selective on what she does. It has to be something that really speaks to her.
Yeah, and it's good. As they all mentioned before coming to do 5, is it has to honor Wes's memory.
Yes.
So if it gets too wild and crazy, I wouldn't expect her to see her back there. But I don't think the directors are going to do that. Who do you want to see in the film that has never been in the films before? Right? Because I know everybody's going to say Matthew Lillard, and I know everybody's going to say Hayden Panettiere. So those
Panettiere.
Whatever. they both look good. So we know both of those two are going to come up in the comments. So who are you fan casting in this film? Samara Weaving was supposed to be in Part 5, but there was some conflict in her. Do you still want to see her come in there now that we have established characters?
Well, she might be too big.
I know.
She's done a lot of movies recently.
She's done a lot of movies, but she has horror street cred. So
she does. She does do a lot of horror movies. That's mostly what she does. And she's very good. I will give her that. And you know what the thing is, too? She can switch up her look really well. So maybe they just change the way she looks.
You know what? I want to see the girl that was in Ouija Origin of Evil and in Becky. She needs to be in another horror film because she's a badass actress.
Yeah.
And she hasn't been in a lot lately, so that's my choice right there. I think her name is Lulu something.
It's Lulu something. I don't remember her last name, but she is excellent.
So that's that on the news. But speaking of conventions, we just came back from Monster Mania where they had a Dexter reunion. Woohoo! Woo! And during the Q&A, they made a big announcement where Monster Mania 50 in August is going to be scream heavy. And when Dave Hagen, the promoter, says it's going to be heavy, it's not going to be 2 people or 3 people or 4 people.
Well, he's already announced like 4. Neve Campbell, Matthew Lillard, Skeet Ulrich, and Jamie Kennedy.
Yes.
So he's already got 4. And that was only the first announcement.
Yes, that was the first announcement. We'll start seeing some more announcements come for that over the next couple of weeks. If you're here in the Northeast, I know people also like to travel all over the country to Monster Mania. This may be the convention where not only do we see those 4 and Roger Jackson all back together again, which we've seen in the past at Monster Mania, but we could be seeing members of Scream 5 there.
Yeah, maybe Jenna Ortega or Jack Quaid.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right, and this is the segment here where we ask people to go to our Facebook page or our community page or find me on Twitter, that if we announce that we're filming something ahead of time, that you can ask your questions or leave your comments. And we have another one from a good sir and subscriber, Justin Ryman, on Kristen Stewart.
Honestly, she's a pretty good actress that, like Pattinson, just so happened to be in some really bad movies. I honestly really, really liked Underwater. Yeah,
like I've said in a couple of reviews that we've done, even with the dog review that we did as well, is I like her as an actress. I don't necessarily like all the roles that she does. Sometimes I think she goes over the top. And Underwater was great. I really like that movie. Though for some reason I haven't gone back to watch it, which is stupid because it's a really good thriller. But yeah, I agree. Yeah, I like her in a lot of her roles that she's in. I think she gets a bad rap like a lot of people do, like Robert Pattinson and Channing Tatum.
Oh, yeah, because he's actually got range. Yeah, I think with Kristen Stewart, though, too, is that sometimes she gets these roles that just aren't fantastic, and then she reaches too high, and she tries to put too much into it, and then it just comes off as very fake and unbelievable, and you just don't want to watch it.
So, let us know what you think about the Scream news. Do you go to horror conventions? Are you excited that you may get to see them? I know a few of them are actually going to multiple horror conventions this year, so you may get to see them come around to your part of the country, or overseas to the country that you may live in, because we have subscribers overseas as well. And don't forget, this month is Paranormal Month. We are 2 episodes deep into our new show, Nerdbox Paranormal, where we're talking about Ouija board stories all season long. There are little shots of espresso on Donna Jean's show where we're throwing little mini stories about horror experiences. And we have a couple of interviews that are coming out, possibly a live ghost hunt as well this month. So be sure to check out some of that content and let us know what you think of it, because we want to experiment with content and see what everybody likes. Let us know if you like that or what else you may want to see. Yeah.
And, don't forget to like and subscribe and keep on sharing. We are loving that you're doing that for us and bringing us in new subscribers so that we can give you more content.
And until the next.
See ya.